7-14 now.
Who's that?
Alabama.
We put it right up there on the big screen.
If it had been Oklahoma, Bill, he'd be a
I wouldn't be here.
And I wouldn't blame you.
I was paying attention to the Browns last night.
I was glad they won.
Yeah, it was Baker.
Yeah. You know what? He just almost willed himself to win. He's one of those guys.
You follow the Dr. Pepper commercial? This is what they have, the Dan's commercial.
A little bit, yeah.
They have that big sheriff,
Uh-huh.
Brian Boswell.
Oh, is it really? I
Is it really?
Yeah. I went to school with him.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
You were there at the same time? Huh. Oh, yeah, I suppose that's right.
Laws.
I like Mayfield, some of his commercials where he's going to cover all the chairs in the stadium.
All right. Call this meeting to order. Join me in the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now would you take roll, please?
Councilman Ashenhurst?
Here.
Councilman Madsen?
Here.
Councilman Britz?
Here.
Councilman Schindler?
Here.
Mayor Graves?
Here. You have before you an agenda. A couple of additions, 3 additions, I guess. Under E, number 3, we have a complaint to discuss from John Exxon. Under F, unfinished business number 1, we'll say gutter obstructions. And number 2, under unfinished business, will be the XL Wyoming contract. Anything else, Candy? Did I get it covered?
That's it.
Okay.
Move to accept the agenda with changes.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Moving on to C, the consent agenda, which will be regular meeting minutes and special meeting minutes. And then the department reports, along with vouchers. Would entertain a motion to approve and place to file.
So moved. Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there discussion?
Andy, on the vouchers, BDO for 7,000, Board David, the initials there.
So,
Is that Nader Talker?
yes.
They got
Right, okay. So where are we at with the audit?
So, this is, normally they present to us November, January. They've asked for, requested an extension from the state, or from the IRS. And so, it is behind. This is their bill, but I guess, we're hoping to see them next month. We haven't even seen a draft of it yet. So they are definitely running behind. And Tabitha and I have definitely stayed on top of all their requests, so we feel we're good on their requests.
Nothing on our end.
Nothing on our end.
It's all on it.
Mhm.
And one more, well, a couple, the other one, and I saw it on the police report, could you, and I might have missed it, I saw we had a voucher for a little over 4,000, but it's for the shop with a cop. It's explain on how that all dealt.
Sure, Shop with the Cop was with the police department, and I think Jamie Wingard from the Highway Patrol. They collected donations from businesses around town, and then they took, the cops went shopping with kids to find Christmas presents for their parents. The $4,000 is not from the town of it's running through our budget. So the donations were given to the town, and so it's just going through our budget. We'll write a check to Drewby's.
You're just
Mhm.
third party.
They had to have, there was a special circumstance somehow, right? They had to have somebody that administered the funds or
Yeah, they needed an entity to administer
Sponsor.
the funds. And
sponsor the
Yes.
program.
Yeah.
Okay.
the town of Wheatland did put $100 into that program.
And I guess I would expand on that program just a little bit and thank Councilman Ashenhurst and his family and their business for hosting that event and doing the great things that he did, because his financial contribution to that was actually quite large as well, because he did some things with, he paid sales tax and he let those less fortunate kids have the most bang for the buck. And I appreciate that from a community standpoint, clean and, you know, nice job. Really, really nice job.
Thank you. It was nice to see all the law enforcement and the firemen all out, not getting paid to do that, just out of community spirit. It was nice.
Candy, what's the status on I think the last time we talked on the asphalt millings, I think we had one no pay. Are we
Yes,
still selling 4 millings to?
last Friday, we sold another 1,008 tons. I think they're going to be loading them up again this Wednesday. So totally, we sold 6,252 tons. The individual that we were working with that was unhappy with the product, we've talked to him. I think Toby talked to him actually Friday. He's going to pile up the larger chunks that he was unhappy with, and the town will go pick those up, and then we'll just reduce the amount he owes us.
Okay.
And semantics or point of clarification, I guess, the chunks that he was complaining about they're unmilled chunks. He was under the auspice, he was buying millings, and in his mixed loads, there were chunks of unmilled asphalt. He didn't feel like taking those, which after getting a full picture of what was going on, I understand why. I mean, because if it was a chunk of milling, he actually has a piece of equipment that he could run over with a dozer. It should break that back up. This is actually unmilled chunks of asphalt. And a couple of them the size of that tabletop. I mean, big chunks.
In the file, huh?
Yeah, and he didn't feel like maybe he wanted those because disposal of that would be, you know, after seeing it, I better understand. Buyer beware, but in the instance, I mean, I get what he was saying. When he said, I'm buying millings, not unmilled chunks as well. So,
And the deeper they got into the pile was better quality millings in
the
there.
less of that there was. You know.
There's still plenty to sell.
Yes, yeah. We're maybe a little more than half
Okay.
through, but
What's the expected revenue gonna be from that pile?
I think they were looking at maybe 50,000, and that's an estimate. But
I have 3 questions. So Candy, on your overtime report, it looks like the police department's becoming your problem child.
yes.
I don't see the chief here.
No, I was looking for him too, but no, he's not here.
I guess I know it's on your radar. be on the mayor's radar too, I guess.
Mhm.
I mean, we're doing really well in the other departments, and it's kind of
Yeah.
skewing the numbers.
At December too.
December was a huge jump, yeah.
We don't know the reason for that.
No, it wasn't grant overtime, and even after taking out, there was no grant overtime. And then even after taking out the holidays, it was still pretty high. So I don't know.
Was that possibly coverage for officers that couldn't work due to contracting COVID?
That was November.
previous. Okay. I was surprised to see that too.
Yeah, and that was November that,
Okay.
We've got a RFP coming out with automated meter.
yeah, I think we're to our final draft on it. And what we did was we'll form a committee to review them.
Oh.
So then it's not just
To review the,
the proposals that come in,
okay.
so that we don't have to take the low bid. And so I'm pretty much ready to go. The engineers helped me a lot, but they charged a lot. So I'm trying to do the rest myself and get them
I'd be happy to read it, the RFP before it goes out,
okay.
and then if we could talk about it, but any status on our claim on health insurance? Our large claim?
I just asked Tabitha about that this morning, and they're just slowly coming in.
Is it gonna come in chunks, or is
Yeah.
it one?
Just slowly been coming in.
Is that money escrowed through previous payments already?
Yes, some of it's been paid, some of it is still not out.
Well, I guess one of my question is, we're, in our vouchers, we pay $40,000 a month, right? Plus another, you know, what is it, another 26,000 for claims? It's a lot of money. I mean, I just wondered if some of that money was going into escrow to help cover this new. Is that right?
Yes, okay, yes.
So it's not like a cash chunk that's gotta come out.
No. I see what
That's
you're
good.
asking.
That's
Yes.
good.
Mhm.
I'm good.
Okay.
Did we wanna call the chief, get him on the phone and ask why his overtime was so high? I mean, we don't have,
We can sure
he's
try.
not here, I mean, would that, do you guys want to take a moment and try that, or are you okay with it, or?
I'm just happy you guys have it on. I mean, that's the point, measuring it. And, you know, start.
I'm fine if you
Figure
want
out
to send
what
us a
it is.
memo.
Okay, I can find out.
Hmm.
Okay.
Just had one last, at the last meeting, we had a lot of the input on the governor's mask mandate and the closing of some of the businesses in those hours. But I brought up about the hospitality grant for those folks, and I did do some research and look it up, and I did see that there were two business establishments in Wheatland that fell under that hospitality grant. They did get some governor's program, and one in Glendale. So one in Wheatland for a little over 6,000, one for about 8,000, and Glendale was about 18,000 to help offset any impact they had. So they did exercise that hospitality relief grant. The governor also did in conjunction with this grant. So,
Well, the legislature has a bill to modify the health emergency statutes. And I think in general, they're saying if there's a mandate that's longer than 15 days, it has to have consent by the Congress. That's kind of general. That's what I read. So I'm trying to put take it out of the hands of one individual, put the legislature.
Anyway, I thought it was good that at least they followed up on the grant, some relief, like
Mhm.
the total impact, but it looks like somehow.
Well, it's next month, we have our liquor license renewals.
Yes.
You know, we wanted to, over the next month, think about compensating. Instead of charging minimum, we could, something we could have conversation about over the next 30 days. Do something to help on our own.
More impact.
That is it.
Anything? Any other thing?
No.
All right, hearing no other further discussion, all in favor of approving the consent agenda and placing it in file, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
So same sign, motion will carry. Elected officials and appointments. Item number 1, we have a applicant who is here in the crowd, Mr. Jarvis Wheatland, who would like to join the Board of Adjustments. And I believe that is a position, not an alternate. Is that correct? Okay. Mr. Wyndham, would you like to speak, or?
Thank you, gentlemen. Mr. Mayor. I'd like to try to serve on that board and do as good as I can. I've been wanting to be on the zoning group for some time. I have a long history in Wheatland. It's been a privilege being here, working with people, and I think I can help. That's all I have to say. Thanks for the opportunity.
You just make a motion to appoint and they
Yeah,
can
make a
approve it.
motion to approve the appointment of Jarvis Wyndham to the Board of Adjustments.
I'll make the motion to appoint Jarvis Wyndham to the Board of Adjustment.
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded. Is there further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Item number 2 is the oath of office for Councilman Madsen. I think we have Judge here to take care of us.
This is the second time for you, Alan, that I've sworn you in.
Her black robe and her very
I know,
pretty necklace.
Thank you. I didn't have a fancy collar, so that's gonna have to do. You wanna come down here?
Yeah, next to printouts. Read, I can't read your lips with a mask.
You wanna do it up there?
on.
I didn't know, we probably gotta be in
Where
the
we can get a
paper.
good picture.
You face the camera, so. All right. You're good, I can do the right one? Okay. All right. If you would raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Alan Madsen, do solemnly swear that I will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States. That's why you have a cheat sheet.
Okay. How far you were going to go, so. I, Alan Madsen, do solemnly swear that I will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States
And the Constitution of the State of Wyoming.
and the Constitution of the State of Wyoming,
That I have not knowingly violated any law related to my election
that I have not knowingly violated any law related to my election
or caused it to be done by others.
or caused it to be done by others,
And that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity.
and that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity.
Very good. Congratulations. Have those to the mayor and he can maybe finish filling those out. I'm ready. Nice to have a cheat sheet.
Yeah.
Ready? Or am I in the?
Yep, you're good.
Spot? Okay. You raise your right hand. I, Tony Montoya, solemnly swear that I will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States
I, Tony Montoya, do solemnly swear that I will support, obey, defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Wyoming,
and the Constitution of the State of Wyoming,
that I have not knowingly violated any law related to my election
that I have not knowingly violated any law related to my election
or caused it to be done by others,
or caused it to be done by others,
and that I will discharge the duties of my office fidelity.
and that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity. Thank you very much.
Very good.
Here you go, Tony. It's pre-warmed.
All right.
No, we really have heaters in.
Heated seats? No.
Thank you.
All right. You betcha. Yeah.
Hey, Thane, you got anything else to say before you leave? You wanna?
I don't. Thank you. Thank you for.
I do have
He does.
a
Oh.
appreciation plaque for you
Thank
as
you.
well for your years
Yeah.
of service to the town of Wheatland.
Appreciate that.
And we thank you for doing 4 years on the term.
Thank you, Thane. Pleasure serving with you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you guys. You guys too. Yeah. Appreciate it.
Same here.
Oh.
You can use it as book.
Okay. I will. All right.
Put it in your desk so your wife knows who you are.
Yeah. Thank you. We'll see you.
All right, thanks.
Where are we? Oh, petitions, memorials, proclamations, and public comment. Item number 1, we have Malcolm Irvin here, the Platte County Clerk.
Thank you. I don't know if you've seen anything in the news, but there's a lot of talk about elections. So I thought it was my duty, since I'm basically your independent contractor, to run city elections. I thought it was my duty to come just let you know how it went. In Platte County, we had a very successful election overall. We had more voters than we've ever had. For our general election, we had 4,963 votes cast. Prior to that, we had never had more than 4,700. And then our absentees were through the roof. The most absentees or early in-person votes we ever had was 892 in one election. And for our general alone, we had 2,009 absentees. And so our office was just super busy, and I added a couple of judges to fill in to help us with the absentee board. So I appreciate everybody who obviously did. In the general, there were 92 people who served as election judges. That's throughout the county. It takes a good-sized team to do it. We've been working on it since January, but I just wanted you to rest assured that it went very well in Platte County. We had only a couple of really small issues, but you're always going to have small anomalies. And so,
brought any suitcases full of
well, I'm glad you asked that. So for our election judge training, I told our judges I had 2 goals, and they were in order of importance. The first one was to deliver a fair, secure, and accurate election. The second one was to not get sued. And so far, number 1, we delivered for sure. Everything's been certified. We can confidently say we did it. Number 2, so far we're looking pretty good. And there was nothing that I think anybody could have some grounds. Our election judges did an incredible job with it, and I'm super proud of them. So I wanted to let you know, you guys pay the clerk's office to do your city election. We're tasked with doing federal and state election, but it's your option to ask us to do the city election. And you asked us, and I hope you continue to ask us to do that. I think that overall, for the town, in the general, you had 1,830 voters cast a vote for
city council. So that's 37% of all votes cast throughout the county. We're all within the town of Wheatland. So and those who came into the courthouse can probably attest to the fact that it was busy. From day one of absentee ballots being available, we were swamped with people. But overall, it went very well, and I'm happy to do it. So thank you guys for trusting us to do it. Do you have any questions for us?
I would just like to say, for the first time I've ever been involved, and I thought you did a great job watching you in action. I can assure everybody that you did a great job. It was a well-conducted election on your part, I think, in your office, all your staff as well.
I appreciate that. I'm trying to incorporate more folks in elected positions in their off years. So like this year, Councilman Schindler served on the absentee board. It just worked out really well. And so don't be surprised, Councilman Montoya, Madsen, that if I ask you to do it in your off year.
No problem.
It's just one of those things that it takes 92 people, not including my office, to conduct it. And so tough to find folks sometimes. But
I thought it was an eye-opening experience, and I think it demonstrated to me how hard that it would be to falsify an election in this country. If every election was run as secure as what you did here.
Well, and it was a challenge. We had brand new equipment to work with. Right out the gate, the Secretary of State told us we had to have new equipment. And then, so we were trying to learn that equipment, teach our judges that equipment. And then we had a pandemic that we had to deal with all of the restrictions, hoops surrounding that. And it wasn't easy to figure out how you get 1,830 people through one building and not have some major issue. So overall, very pleased with it. I will let you know my future plan for 2022. I do intend to move the polling place at First State Bank and the Wheatland Bible Church, both of them to the 4-H building. I actually went in today to see that main hall, and it's enormous. I think once you see everything taken out, it'll amaze you how big that space is. And so it's really nice and convenient for my office that we'll be able to show up in 7 of our 13 precincts or in one building. So that's my honest intention in 2022, to have it in one spot. That building's being built because of a vote. I think what better way to celebrate it than conducting a vote there.
Are you leasing?
What?
Releasing the other?
No, First State has been super generous, and they just give it the space to us for 3 days, basically. And I'll give them a shout out. I hope somebody's listening, but they even bought pizza for the election judges during the general. So that was kind of neat. Those folks serve a 13-hour day. They show up at 6 o'clock in the morning and polls close at 7. And so most of them go home at that point. A handful stick around for another hour. So for some of them, it's a 14-hour day. So it's long, but it's worth it. Hallmark of democracy.
I'd just like to reiterate that I think I called Malcolm afterwards and his volunteers and judges. Very smooth operation. You could get in and out quick. Checks and balances. It's really well-oiled machine. And then in my real world day-to-day, I'm in Malcolm's office all the time, and I never saw so many people, from the youngest to the oldest, coming in on a daily basis doing their absentee voting or voting early. And his staff at his clerk's office there, they had people at desks and everywhere set up, and it was, again, well-run operation. I can't remember how many they said they would have per day come in. It was amazing. To do their normal day-to-day stuff in conjunction with the good balance.
Our most in a single day was 112. So we had 112 folks come in and cast a vote, and that doesn't include how many titles we had, land records we had recorded, marriage licenses. And it's, for whatever reason, apparently election season, everybody wants to get married.
Including you. Congratulations.
Yeah. I waited until after.
Yeah.
So I do think it's important. 41% of our vote and the general was cast by either absentee or early in person. So 41% of our votes were cast early. So that's a huge number. Thank you guys for trusting us to do it, and if you have anything else, let me know, but we're happy to do it for you again.
Thanks,
Unless
Malcolm.
Candy wants to take it back over.
Thank you. Thanks, Malcolm.
21 to 14,
Alabama.
Alabama. In case anybody wants.
I'm recording it.
Hopefully you weren't recording it.
Nothing's worse than a recorded football game that's over.
Recording it.
Item number 2, under petitions, memorials, proclamations, and public comment, is the School Choice Week. You have in front of you a proclamation from the town of Wheatland. Town of Wheatland proclamation states, whereas all children in Wheatland should have access to the highest quality education possible. And whereas Wheatland recognizes the important role that an effective education plays in preparing all students in Wheatland to be successful adults, and whereas the quality education is critically important to the economic vitality of Wheatland, and whereas Wheatland is the home to a multitude of high-quality public and non-public schools from which parents can choose for their children, in addition to the families who educate their children in the home. And whereas educational variety not only helps to diversify our economy, but also enhances the vibrancy of our community. And whereas Wheatland has many high-quality teaching professionals in all types of schools settings who are committed to educating our children. And whereas School Choice Week is celebrated across the country by millions of students, parents, and educators, schools and organizations to raise awareness of the need for effective educational options. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Brandon Graves, do hereby recognize January 24th through January 30th, 2021, as Wheatland School Choice Week, and I call this observance to the attention of our citizens. I got slipped up and said 2020. Oh, and that's right, I see it in there somewhere. From the note of appreciation of thanks for the support from the town for the countless activities from sports to performing arts and contests and fundraisers, the Wheatland High School Student Council and the National Honor Society sent a thank you Christmas type card for the town of Wheatland for our support. Thank you, I missed that. Should I do number 3 and then ask for public comment, or should we do public comment first? Or we'll do number 3 because that's the way we laid it out in the agenda. We have a complaint from John Exxon. He is not present. I actually spoke to him before the meeting, and he was. John's a unique individual. He was very nervous about trying to do any sort of a public speaking engagement, so he just asked that I kind of handle it for him, and I told him I could do that. It's pretty cut and dried. He put the information in front of you. I know that he had talked to me several times. He mentioned that he talked to Alan. I'm sure Alan will attest to that. I know Doug worked with him and sent letters to the adjacent landowner, and John, he doesn't have all the money in the world, and he felt like because of the situation, his car got damaged, and it wouldn't have if the situation wasn't that way, so he would like financial assistance from the town to help with the repair bill, and he noted everything here and actually did a nicer job than maybe I was expecting to lay it out there for us, so would ask what the will of the council is, or thoughts from the council on how we should proceed and handle this. Maybe even input from you, Doug, would be valuable as well. It was in a pile of extra stuff.
There is a pile of wood there, but to be honest, there's rabbits everywhere. You can't blame this incident on a pile of wood, this rabbit eating that thing. I have rabbits in my yard, and I don't have any wood in my yard. and I feel bad for Juan, but I don't think because some rabbit ate part of his electrical system or chewed it, it's a result of that wood pile. I'm not saying we shouldn't try to clean that up, but we have bunny rabbits all over the town. Does that mean that if you have something, a garbage can out in the alley that they sit by, I mean, at some point you have to draw the line. I think the line is there. I'm not disputing that he has that pile of wood in that house next to it, but it's up to you guys, but I think you open a can of worms when you start paying for somebody's electric thing that a rabbit ate.
I agree.
We had, our vehicle was parked out on a street in front of our house and a rabbit ate our stuff. And there's no wood, there's no garbage, it's in the middle of town, in the middle of the street. It's kind of everywhere.
We go back to the automakers and ask them to quit making their jackets out of soy-based plastic.
So they don't eat them.
Better talk to the soybean farmers first about that. You're always going to offend somebody.
And then if you make it plastic, then you got to talk to environmental.
Yeah, right.
We can send a crew over there to clean it up. I mean, just like we did across the street from Wanex.
Well, and I think that's part of what harbors his drive is he's seen that happen across the street. He's, been fighting this for a couple of years, trying to get it cleaned up, and he's dinged on me a bunch, and I know I've talked to you about it, I know he's talked to you about it, I know you've sent letters.
But in the same breath, he goes over and says, neighbors need to help neighbors to clean up their yard, and he helped that guy, and I don't know if he doesn't get along with the neighbor, I don't know that interpersonal relationship, but.
Actually, he made a deal with the neighbor that had the trees that were cut down that he didn't do anything with, and he got one of his friends to come in there, and anything that was a burnable size, he helped him cut and haul out of there so the guy could burn it as firewood, because it had been there long enough, it was dried out and ready to burn. And so what's left is, the twigs and the leftover junk. So.
Mayor, we do get complaints on his property too. So it's just kind of that neighborhood.
But as far as paying for it, that's really you guys' decisions.
Go with what Doug was saying, I don't know how we can, when we think all the tracks, they know that tracks from us. Maybe we can help the neighbor picking up, and then of course I do know that complaints on his too.
It's on 14th Street, probably the 700 block or 14th.
600 block.
Is this the neighbor's house that
Right across
Right
the street.
across.
city cleaned up
Yeah,
Right across the street.
last summer?
That's correct.
Yeah.
The neighbor that
There's just risks of living in town, risks living wherever you live. Can't be protected from everything.
Okay, so what do we need to do to move on?
Just move on.
Need a motion to move on, or
We
what?
had a discussion, and I'll report back.
Yeah, I agree with Doug. I don't think that the city is anything damages from the rabbit.
I'll volunteer to go shoot the rabbit.
There you go.
Can't shoot a gun and see you later.
Yeah. Hey, you've already broken your first law.
I didn't do
Tony,
it.
Tony, only if you get,
Oh,
That,
that's a tough gig.
use a BB gun.
One thing that I would, expand upon, last month, Councilman Schindler indicated to us that he would be, possibly selling his property and moving out of the town of Wheatland before the end of his term, if everything works out right, which I hope for Jamie and his wife and their family dynamic, it happens sooner rather than later, just for that sake. For the other sake, I mean, you'll be sorely missed when you go away, because you're a retired guy and you've got a lot of time to give to the position that you're in, and we appreciate that. But until the point in time, when you're ready to submit that letter of resignation, I guess I would ask you to stay and serve in the capacity that the voting public asked you to be in.
I'll gladly do so.
And that being said, put it out there publicly. If you're interested, submit a letter of interest to Candy, and we'll put a panel together and see what's out there, and you know, hopefully we can find a home run to fill some big shoes. And
Be here for another year.
you know, the selfish side of me says, you know, Jamie's health don't sell for 24 or 5 months. And the other side of me says, I hope it sells tomorrow so you can have your family dynamic. But no, all joking aside, I think honestly the best way to proceed there is just, you know, publicly make that announcement, and that way we touch the entire demographic of people that are interested in submitting a letter. I mean, we've had some side conversations, and I mean, there's probably a pretty short list of viable, good candidates, and some that currently ran, and maybe some that previously ran, and I mean, we'll have our work cut out for us to try to come up with that person. But I think that's
Cross that bridge when we get
yeah,
there.
you know, and maybe it'll be later rather than sooner, or sooner rather than later. But that's kind of, I think, how we'll proceed. If you're willing to do
Absolutely.
that. And
Absolutely.
is there any other public comment at this time? Your pin drop. Hearing none, we'll move on to unfinished business. Item number 1, gutter obstruction. And I believe that
I can address that real quick. So last month, Ann Bernard presented to the council, the mayor and the council, some concerns about obstructions in her gutter. She made a claim that when the water from that was being pumped out of the new well to clear the well out actually came up onto her property and disturbed her gravel in her driveway, and she identified a cement obstruction in the gutter from one of her neighbors, which seems to be fairly common around our community, as people pouring cement to create a ramp so they don't have to drive, so kind of eliminate that bump on the California gutter or California curb or whatever it's called. So Jamie and I went over there last week, Thursday.
Yeah.
I just kind of looked at it and observed there's a big cement pad, like right next door to her, right next to her trash cans, and it was a fairly warm day, but there was a big iceberg upstream and downstream of that block. And then I went, we looked at the code. This is chapter 120520 of the municipal code. It says specifically the one sentence in here that I think is important is all sidewalks, curbs, and gutters shall be built on the line and grade established by the town engineer Any sidewalk, curb, or gutter not so built shall be condemned. And I guess the way I read that is that these cement board obstructions are contrary to our ordinance. And we really don't have recourse. We need to condemn them and send them a letter. And that's kind of how I see it.
I feel the same way, yeah.
Do you guys think there's upwards of 100 of them or so?
Well, I think Candy and Toby and
Yeah.
kind of drove around and
Yeah, and then Toby drove around, and I would say right about approximately.
so like the suggestion is, we send a letter from the attorney. Your curb or your gutter is not in compliance with this code and is condemned and needs to be moved. Here's some options. If you need to get rid of it. If you don't, within 30 days, the town will come out and remove it for you at your expense, back charge you whatever. We can come up with a number and put it in the letter. And then we can also make a suggestion on, if you're concerned about the level of the curb and your car getting over it, here's some things you could do. Like Jamie has done in his personal property, cut out the curb and lay in a new cement approach. Or, and I don't know how you guys feel about this, but maybe there's one other residence east of Cairns, and they have a metal plate that's bridges the curb.
Yeah, I don't think we should allow any obstructions, myself. That's my opinion, in the gutters.
So then the option.
I mean, no permanent. I mean,
Well, that
if somebody
one's
wants to lay a plate in there
That's exactly
for a few minutes to back a big heavy trailer in or something, that's just my opinion on it. I was surprised that it's been allowed for all these years, I guess.
Honestly, nobody's ever complained. I've sat at this desk for a long time, and nobody's ever, they really have not complained.
Well, I guess,
I'm not saying that you guys aren't right, I'm just saying that in all the years, nobody's complained. And if there's 100 of them, you'd think you'd have heard somewhere along the line, but there has never been.
Well, we have one now.
I'm not arguing that, I'm just telling you that there hasn't.
I guess, I don't know how you read it, Doug, but this seems pretty black and white.
I think it should be built as required along there. And I don't think it allows for additions to those gutters. I can tell you, you just have to look practically. You're gonna have a lot of pushback because of one complaint. And that's just the nature of this beast. I would probably suggest, rather than somebody's got to get me all addresses. I would probably, if you know who they are, put them in their town bill, a little note in their town bill, or just run an ad and say, anybody that has an obstruction on the curb, we're going to remove it if you don't. But somebody's got to get addresses. You can't.
I have addresses.
If I was doing it, I would probably put it in the bills, mail them out in the bills.
So is this obstruction a permanent obstruction?
Yes,
Tony, some of them try to make sure that they work. They'll put a pipe in there. Some have 2-inch pipes,
Right,
so they hope the water runs through. Well, 2-inch pipe isn't going to do much good in a curb. I'll be honest with you. They get stuffed up. The others just pour over it. There's nothing there. They force the water this way.
It's the one in particular. There's a couple of slides.
Oh, yeah.
And some of them build these, it's almost a triangular thing, and it's not a permanent. It might be permanent, but some of them are designed, if you drive around, where water can actually go through there. I think you have more space than the 3-inch pipe because it's triangular. They have the same issue. I think there's one that's metal. You couldn't move it each time. It's a piece of steel. Yeah, I think it's a big piece of steel. I did like Jamie did. I did mine 30 years ago. I was tired of humping over there and ruin my alignment. I just had to
Cut it.
cut it out, put in a new driveway, I mean, a new approach.
Well, if, you know, I drove over mine for 20 years also, and, you know, you take it slow, you drive in there, it's not gonna knock your front end out of alignment if you're not driving in there at 30 miles an hour, you know.
But I don't have a problem sending a letter, but I think a couple of solutions would be
We'll try the
in the,
easier approach.
yeah.
It's not like it's not criminal.
No.
We just have, I mean, we have an ordinance that.
And you have everybody's addresses, so. But you don't get the bills. Can you put a little note in the bills?
I don't know if we can do the individuals, like it would have to go in all of them. We'll figure it out.
Well, then you have electronic bill pay too, where you can.
Yeah, because some of them don't get a bill.
I don't ever see a bill.
Mhm.
I mean, the other option for change fire allow or allow something.
And I'll be honest, I am sure, absolutely sure, nobody came into the clerk, paid their $3 to even change that.
Oh, you mean before that?
Yeah, you know, I would guess there's nobody coming in there. I know what I did is just got a building permit for when I took out the sidewalk and the curb. But there's a provision, you have to have a $3 permit from the clerk before you do that.
So what, if you hear back from the owner that has one of those in there and they bought the place that way? Again, this is buyer beware, I mean, now.
You still have to take care of it. I mean,
I'm just, you know,
I understand that question, but I you know, it's,
and yeah, in all my time, I've never had this come up. It's a tough one.
Well, do we need to take any action or anything at this point, do we, or?
we just direct Candy and I to send a letter.
Yeah, I think it's like Bill said, if you want to allow it, fine, change the ordinance. You know, and just put it to a vote, change the ordinance if you want it allowed. Otherwise, I mean, we have ordinances for a reason.
And it might be a good, this is just a practical, you send the letters out, you're either gonna have 100 people in here some night. I mean, honestly.
And that's
Yeah.
fine, yeah, that's the way it goes.
Because the homeowner is responsible for gutters, sidewalks, curbs,
So,
so they're paying for it. Like, I could see him coming in complaining on that.
Well, it's not that there's no remedy to them I mean, they could do just what Doug did and I did. You get it knocked out and you put in a nice smooth approach if it's bothers you. I mean,
yeah.
Like say I lived with it for 20 years, those California curbs are made to drive over at any point. So
I don't know if they're made, they can drive over, they're designed to make it cheap and quick for the
they
contractor.
are thick, I can tell you from
Yeah.
having mine knocked out this summer.
Well, you know what they do, they don't worry about grade, they just set the grade on their wire and that's how they go. They don't care if it's a 2-inch, there's some that's only 2 inches.
There may be, but I'll tell you, not at
And
my
some
house.
are 8 inches, I mean, it just, we had the same problem when they did it out at.
I had an 11-inch part of that, 11 inches thick. But I suppose because Basin Electric was purchasing the concrete, I suppose.
Yeah, and they just, and they wanted it in quick, and they just ran their slip form wire, and that's how they do that, so. We'll send out a letter or do something, we'll get something squared away.
Yeah.
As they come.
What I think I'll do if I write the letter is just say, and enclosed, please find the ordinance, so they can take a look at it. So you have 2 pieces of paper. Okay?
Thank you, too, for taking some time to go dig into that. Unfinished business item number 2 is the XL Wyoming contract.
I sent this out to you, it's the final settlement, there's been a dispute about the final pay. In this agreement, if you approve it, I would ask that you authorize the mayor to sign it after we receive a signed copy from the president of XL Mining. I will tell you that they're holding 2 checks, and I indicated if for some reason the bank didn't cash those because they've held them so long, that we'd want those back and then reissue new checks. Because they haven't cashed those other 2. And I told them to try that first.
Good job on standing the ground on that.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Well, I'll move to accept the settlement agreement, Excel, Wyoming contractor, and ask the mayor to sign contingent on Excel sign.
Second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
I guess I have one question. Does that non-disparagement agreement apply to ex-councilmen?
It applies to everybody that is here. I think that part is real clear, is if they,
For instance, thing.
yeah, no, I think it's designed to say exactly what it says.
Okay.
That it was sufficiently performed, 10 plant inspection met, that project was completed at a time.
I think as far as the town's concerned, it's not available.
That would be I'd be in agreement with that. Okay.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign, motion will carry.
Did Alan second that?
Yes.
Okay.
New business, item number 1, resolution number 1 of 2021, which is the building permit fee schedule.
Mayor, I have the building inspector here.
Drew, have you met all of the council, by the way?
I have.
Okay, good. Would you like to speak to any of this, or is it just pretty straightforward?
It's pretty straightforward, but any questions, well, of course, try to answer or give explanation to why I believe this is necessary.
Well, I think if you look at the new schedule versus the current one, this one's a lot more, I don't know, easier to understand. And I think Drew and Candy, you guys had a lot of feedback from the contractors about how difficult this one was.
Absolutely.
And how unevenly applied it was, right?
Yeah.
So this is gonna help our contractor customers better adhere to.
Yeah, I mean, it's standardized over, almost a national type of standard, what I've seen. Kind of done the math on particular examples of things across the board in other counties, other towns. It's a gradual increase over the 15 years that the current schedule has been what we've been using. And that overall increase is about 1% each year over that 15 years. The valuations we usually run into aren't up into those higher ends. And those are in the 5 to 10% range, but as those costs increase, the plan review, the
design criteria, everything that's necessary to make sure that all the adopted codes are followed. The time frame, the amount of work involved is much more extensive than what we've been doing. On an average, plan review is about 65% of the permit cost, and in that, it's about 20% and only when determined necessary. Some would put a flat amount on what plan review would be necessary for. Some examples would be like a project that's $25,000 would require that plan review. But that doesn't seem to really, for me to be understood as well. If necessary, fire suppression, certain hazard categories, things like that we haven't really been adding to that permit cost, those things would now be evaluated, as well as change of occupancy, which wouldn't seem like something that could be really as important as it is. If somebody steps into a building and changes that business category, they change the occupancy category, which can change the hazard dramatically. So if that's more of something that electrical, fire, life safety, as well as the building permit, or any construction changes with that occupancy, that can all be evaluated afterwards, which is well, because of the time involved, it should be something that we evaluate the cost, the amount of time necessary for all of it.
So Drew, on the back of the fee schedule where you say nonprofit and volunteer projects, fee schedule to be adjusted or waived when approved by building department. So you're not including government, like say the county came, because if they want it waived, they would have to come to the council.
Yeah, as before, and with the 4-H, that was something that was evaluated in April. Me having shown up in June, I understood that was the process. And the evaluation initially didn't even go by the fee schedule, possibly because of the confusion involved with the way it was listed. So I kind of evaluated the 4-H for anything from the administrative side through the plan review, as well as the multiple inspections involved in something like that. And it's upwards of 100 man-hours to get everything involved. A building like that. Mostly the change of the current occupancy, the addition involved, specific.
All of section 15 missing from the online code. There's 404 error.
Is it not showing up right now? Or?
It's an error. It's 404. It's not found. That's
No,
look up the
through.
look up 150510. Just my own. Error. Well, maybe I should get it.
Mine shows up. I mean, which number did you need? Okay.
Read the. There it goes. And then another thing here is we're gonna review these and so they don't get stale.
An opportunity to make a change if necessary. Again, it's something that I evaluated a lot of different, and that fee schedule doesn't include some of the mechanical, electrical, plumbing type items that are specifically involved in the current schedule, which just isn't really evaluated properly when a permit's issued. The time frame involved to count linear feet of gas pipe and different venting and things of that nature just don't get evaluated through the permit process. With plan review, all of that's necessary to make sure everything is safe. It's following the rules involved. But again, with the adopted codes currently, there's a lot that's required to follow those codes as they are.
It's passing me notes. Sorry. It's good, Drew. It's good work.
Thank you.
we have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
On any way fees to be and outside their cost versus check balance of gold.
Oh,
What was that, Alan?
Any fees that are made, like a signature over a signature, run it through the clerk's desk.
yeah, his last statement were
Oh.
We can just put,
nonprofits and volunteers,
Mm-hmm.
be adjusted or waived when approved.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about the building department. I just think it would be good
in the
for our own records, signature, more or less signature over a signature. It goes off the process.
So do we need to add that onto the ordinance?
We could just add that onto that bottom one. Nonprofit and volunteer projects, fee schedule to be adjusted or waived when approved by building department and the clerk treasurer.
I think it would be just an extra step.
Yes.
Good idea. Town clerk treasurer.
I'll modify my motion to include the noted change.
Oh, did he? Oh, is that- oh, I was waiting for discussion. No, yeah.
Jamie, you still second the noted change?
I think Tony did.
Second, yeah.
Tony did that time?
Councilman Montoya.
You have to speak up there. I didn't catch that.
The faces. Sorry.
Oh, no problem.
It's a mask.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion will carry. New business item number 2 is a planning and zoning request. Looks like Amy is here to help wade through this pile of stuff. Looks like it's kind of broke up into three requests, I guess.
There's 3 simple subdivision requests. The first one for 5.5 acres of approximately 130 acres. This is the same 130 acres that the stone crazy one came before. That one has not yet been recorded yet, so that's why they went with the subdivision application. It's just for the 5.5 acres. And then the other request is also off of the same 130 acres for 7 acres. And they're not next to each other. One's on the north end, one's on the south end. You can see from the aerial images. I've talked to Mr. Hitt about the possibility of them being combined into one subdivision because of how the requirements are written within the statute and the county regulations. He's aware of that and he's okay with that. So at this point, those 2 are coming to council for town, to see if town has any objection to that portion being divided.
I don't have any objections.
acres here.
It's not even in the city limits.
No.
No, but we have within a mile of town, once it comes to town, it's already been funding its own.
We did that one over here.
I haven't received any comments from anybody yet.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, way up.
Well, I meant from the other one.
Yeah,
From the other one that did, yeah, the 5 acres.
It's not way up where that pond. Is that more?
Yeah, clear up on the other end.
Oh, I know.
And if we do have questions for Merlin, he said that we could call him.
Yeah, I don't,
What do you need, Amy, a motion to accept the zoning recommendation?
So, it'd be, last time Attorney Weaver had you guys just do a motion to approve. I probably, because they're separate agenda items, I'd probably approve them separately.
I think you could make a motion to approve simple subdivision to divide 5.5 acres and a simple subdivision to divide 17 acres owned by the same party. Yeah, that's what I do. Takes up less space and you don't have to pay the newspaper so much.
Okay.
Sorry.
Sorry, newspaper.
Go ahead, Bill.
I'll move that we accept the planner's recommendation for subdivision 5.5 acres and the subdivision 17 acres out of 130 on behalf of Mr. Pitt.
I'll second that motion.
it has been moved and seconded. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion is carried. Looks like we have another request for a simple subdivision.
So, this is the Shepherd's request for a simple subdivision to divide off approximately 25.83 acres of approximately 383 acres. This one, they got the irrigation approval already, they already have that. There will be some background work on this one. Their intent is to sell the 25-acre tract and also do a boundary line adjustment to the neighbors to clean up the boundary lines for the 380-acre tract where we have a spring. I don't know what to call that. Yeah. So, the simple subdivision itself will only contain the 5.83 acres. And again, same thing, coming to council, because they're within a mile of town limits. And it'd be the same requirements that we normally ask for on the plat for a simple subdivision. And as of right now, I don't have any comments at the planning and zoning meeting. There were a couple of neighbors that came and asked us questions, and the Shepherds provided some clarification, and they didn't have any objection to the division.
I'll move to accept the subdivision request, 25.8 acres. You have the Shepherds with staff recommendation.
Second?
Been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion will carry. We also have, resolution number 2, 2021, in front of you for whiteout financial assistance for highway maintenance.
That's our boilerplate one that we do every year?
Yes.
Yeah. I will move to, or we need a motion to accept that as a resolution. Okay, I'll move to accept resolution 02-2021 to establish compliance with Department of Transportation for maintenance on state highways within corporate boundaries.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded, is there further discussion?
Word, the third word in there is spelled wrong. The resolution 2, let's see, it started with 0.
I just wanted you to make sure I was.
You're on top of
Paid
it.
attention?
Word 2, a resolution 2. Word TO over the 0.
Oh.
That may be the amount of money we get from the state.
Might be foreshadowing, Bill.
Yeah.
Give it to Bill to notice that.
It was a skinny O.
Right. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Right?
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. New business, number 4 is the 2021 designations. Subsection A is the bank depositories of First State Bank, Rolling Hills Bank, and Flat Valley Bank. Do we need a motion?
Yes.
Yes.
Each bank or all three banks?
You can do it all together, because you could put money in any of them.
Make a motion for the 2021 designation of our bank depositories at First State Bank, Rolling Hills Bank, and Flat Valley Bank.
I'll second that.
Been moved and seconded, is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion will carry. We also have a 2021 designation of our newspaper of record, this is the Black County Record Times. Would entertain a motion?
Well, I know there'll be a lot of debate here, but I'll move that we designate Platte County Record Times our newspaper of record.
On like the state.
I'll rest on our background work.
I'll second the motion.
All right, it's been moved and seconded, is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Under announcements, I just call out to the bottom line there that the next regularly scheduled monthly council meeting will be February 8th this month. And is there any other announcements? Willie, how did you make it through the whole meeting without having to say anything?
Wasn't after question.
Hey, thanks for the list.
My favorite type of meeting.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'll add something. My concrete was 9 inches.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, right? I was amazed how thick. Fact is, they had to bust out pavement because they couldn't get it knocked out of there.
Take it out, and make slabs at 20,000 pounds on trailer and not.
You had your curb cut, and it was that thick.
I'm telling you, I think because Basin Electric paid.
Oh.
I think that they put, you can definitely